there's a need for a greater level of stability in your life. And so in order for you to achieve that level of stability, that level of security that you feel like you really need, there's a need for a greater level of abundance, right? It's really not rocket science. If you want a greater level of stability, you have to feel, notice that key word, more on that later, you have to feel that there's a greater level of abundance in your life. And so in order to create this level of abundance that you feel like you need and that you feel like you desire, you made the most aligned decision that you possibly could. You listened to the wisdom that your heart was giving you, and you tried your best to align with that. You tried to just let your actions flow based upon who you are, or at least I hope you did. Only thing is, you may now be finding yourself in a position, or may have recently found yourself in a position, where you feel like that path to stability or that path to abundance is somewhat blocked or being thwarted, or that you have to work extra hard in order to achieve not quite the level of results that you would like to achieve. Now, what area of your life might this relate to? That's going to be different for every single person. It relates mainly to where this Venus, Saturn, Mars conjunction is falling in your horoscope, what areas of the horoscope those planets rule. And if you would like a little more information on that, I highly recommend scheduling in one of my Empower Hours. It's an empowered way of working with astrology that's going to take you beyond prediction to empowerment. It's not that you can't have prediction if you want it, but I want to take you further. So let's take a look at this alignment, or whether or not indeed you were misaligned in your choices. So the question you have to ask yourself is, if you're following your heart, can you really go wrong? Now, you may be looking at the events in your life around you, and they may be less than desirable. And so the answer that you may be giving yourself in that particular moment in time is, well, yeah, of course, of course following my heart can be wrong because I don't have the level of income that I want. I don't have the level of stability that I need, and things aren't going the way that I want them to, and I'm not getting the attention that I need from the universe in order to fulfill my needs. But the question is, might you really be getting that level of fulfillment and you're just not able to see it? You're not able to feel it, right? So here's the thing. If you go down the road of life and you follow that path that brings you greater external fulfillment in your life, even if that means completely divorcing yourself from what your heart says you should be doing and following the rationale of the head, you have to ask yourself whether you're really being true to yourself. And if you actually achieve results that are going to bring some stability in your life, or you think are bringing that level of stability that you wanted, if you have all the money in the world and you can't be yourself, how are you going to maintain it whilst also feeling that you're being true to yourself? So the first step in the equation towards fulfillment in life in general doesn't come from what we have outside of ourselves. It comes from what's in here. So the question I want to ask you at the moment is, if you were to take the actions, right, that your head is telling you will bring you a greater level of stability and completely ignore your heart, how would you feel somewhere down the road if you had like all the external things that you wanted, but inside of yourself you felt like complete shit, right? Life wouldn't be enjoyable. You'd have all this stuff, but you'd have no level of enjoyment, right? But instead, if you went, okay, I'm just going to follow my heart wherever it leads me. Hey, it may not bring me $1 million. It may not bring me a luxury car. It may not bring me lots of external fulfillment. But what it will bring me is fulfillment with myself. And when you have that fulfillment with yourself, it doesn't matter what life is throwing you externally. You're fulfilled with yourself. And presently, as Venus, Mars, and Saturn align in Dhanishtha Nakshatra, you may be tuning into just such an experience in your life and having a quandary where you're feeling like you're making the right decisions, but things seemingly don't go the way that you want them to. And you're questioning whether you want to continue with that same decision or whether you want to take a step that's going to feel, well, a little more rational. And so the question you have to ask yourself at the root of all of this would taking that step mean that I'm completely misaligned and completely separated from the source of who I am inside of myself? Am I disrupting that flow? Am I being fake? Am I trying to prove a point to the universe? Am I trying to prove a point to someone in my environment that I'm trying to provide a level of stability to? And if you prove a point and you're actually able to achieve it, what happens when that point is proved, right? If you've taken all these steps that created extra hardship in your life just so you can prove a point, how are you going to deal with that hardship afterwards? So many questions now that you need to confront. And let's try to understand this a little more deeply. Before we do that, I just want to share, there's a lot of new people watching my videos these days, many of whom have no clue what a nakshatra is. So I just want to take a brief moment to explain that to people. The nakshatras of Vedic astrology are 27 divisions of the sky according to the stars that are 13 degrees and 20 minutes each. People like to think of them as subdivisions of zodiac signs, but they're a completely different division of the sky that is completely separated from the concept of the zodiac. And some of you who've been following my videos for a long time may have a hard time understanding that, but that is the actual truth. The division of the stars is different than the division of the zodiac signs. More on that in a future video. So understanding where planets are transiting in relation to their nakshatras gives us an idea of how those planets are going to try to grow their agenda. So let's talk a little bit more about Dhanishtha Nakshatra. I want to cover a what's called a sutra, or a short piece of information related to Dhanishtha Nakshatra that through understanding will give you a more profound basis in understanding what this nakshatra is about. And it may sound a little bit cryptic at first, but I'm going to explain it along the way. So there are these different threads of information on the nakshatras from an ancient text called Taittiriya Brahmana. And the sutra for Dhanishtha Nakshatra, when translated, sounds a little like this. The most famous ones of the Vasuna are the energies that support our life here on the planet, right? So the most famous ones of those supportive energies are the past from above and the thriving from below. So what's this past from above all about? The past from above is the source from which we come. It's that source that dwells within us. It's that natural compass of our heart that guides our life in a certain direction at any specific moment in time. And when we begin to align our external life in connection with that internal compass, then the idea is that we thrive. The only thing is you might be looking at your life around you at the moment and going, well, life involves a struggle. I'm being subservient to something that I don't want to be subservient to, even though I made the decisions that seemed like they were going to be most enriching to my heart and as a result be enriching to my life in general. So where is this thriving that I'm getting? And you're looking in the wrong direction. The thriving is perhaps not coming at the moment externally, but it's coming internally through you making the decision, regardless of what circumstances life puts in my way, I'm going to align with what feels right inside of myself. And if you're facing just such a conundrum where you're looking at your life and you're going, you know what, I have to choose now. I have to choose in making a decision that's more rationale based, that I think, and that's the key word, that I think is going to provide greater stability, which ultimately may not. Or I'm going to have to make the decision with my heart, even if it doesn't bring the external fulfillment that I want. And I can tell you now that if you align with what's in here, regardless of the circumstances that you're facing externally, upon retrospect, you will have looked back at this particular moment in time and say, yeah, maybe everything didn't work out externally the way that I wanted it to, but I made the right choice. Because when you reflect back on your life, at all those chapters in your life, if you look at those moments where you aligned with what was in here, more so than what was up here, you're going to find that you're living life with less regrets. And if you could use a little bit of help aligning yourself with that particular lifestyle, that's what the Empower Hours are all about. And you can schedule one of my Empower Hours, should you desire, at the link that you're going to find above. That's going to do it for this look at Venus, Saturn, and Mars as they transit through Dhanishtha Nakshatra until the 31st of March, 2022. Until next time, please do take the very best care of yourself. Bye now.